All right, well, to start my discussion on the video about Truett and the Chick-fil-A, uh, kind of ties back into the last video we watched about the farmer who was in the NFL. Um, they're a little contradictory in a way, considering that money did help Truett and his family fix their problems when he was young, selling Coca-Cola bottles, making a nickel profit, making a 40-cent profit. And back then, things were a lot different, especially during World War II, the Depression, and all this other stuff. But today, in 2023, we live in a different time. We live in a time where people can make their own choices. Um, Now, some people that don't get to make their own choices are our children. Uh, they eat whatever we put on their plate. Um, and where I'm going with this is a little bit of background on me and my family. My wife's been on a flesh-free diet for about 8 to 10 years now. I've been on a flesh-free diet for 6 years. My wife's had 4 children, including twins, uh, zero stretch marks. I have a 4-year-old daughter who's never had flesh in her life, two 2-year-old twins who's never had flesh in their life, and a 3-month-old who will also be raised to not eat flesh. Now, I do understand that back in the day, people needed to eat, people needed to do this, people needed to do that. But I notice in both these videos, there's a lot of religious content in terms of the Bible. And I have a Bible right here. I do Bible studies with people and I challenge them and ask them hard questions that are sometimes hard to answer. Um, for example, in the Old Testament, uh, it talked about not eating pork, about how pork was unclean, and if pork even touched your plate, don't use that plate anymore. And this was, however many thousands years ago, hundreds years ago, whenever that Old Testament was written, somehow they knew pork was bad for us. Now, if you notice this picture I have up here, we see elephants and giraffes and hippos and all these other animals that aren't necessarily a part of our American culture diet. Um, and in the New Testament, for some reason, God's law to not eat pork, was abolished, right? It was changed. Um, I respect our ancestors for surviving in the wild. I respect uh, everyone who, in the past used animals to survive and stuff like that. But let's take the movie Lion King, for example, where they took a lion and Timon and Pumbaa taught him to eat bugs, insects. Now, are insects the same as animals? I'm not so sure. That's up to each person's own interpretation. But I just want people to know that, his story was a great story of success and a great story of making money and making fortunes and using his fortunes to help others, which is always a good story. But again, it's a story. It's one man's journey, and he made his fortune, selling chickens. Some people use chickens as trash cans, garbage disposals. Um, a lot of people don't know that pigs, potbelly pigs, hogs are in every list you look at. They're in the top 10, top 5 smartest animals in the world. Okay, there's a reason why they have to incapacitate them before they slaughter them because if they get too stressed out, that stress hormone called cortisol goes into their blood. Pigs don't sweat. They don't sweat out the chemicals in their body. They use it in urine and pooping or whatever. So, um, now with all that being said, this and how this video can help me in the future is to help me make more money, whether that's buying stuff and selling it for a profit like he did, or saving money until I have enough money to help others. Because I have a website called GameForChange.com where I play video games on the side and make a little bit of money doing that, and I donate 10% of that income to feeding the hungry in my community, Kirksville. Now I had to stop doing that because of financial problems and legal problems that I've been facing. But let's just take a look at a couple different things. And I know none of you can ever imagine eating any of these animals in American culture. Um, you look at Chinese culture where they eat cats and dogs. Some of you might cringe at that, but guess what? People got to eat. People who disagree with vegetarians and vegans and all these other people, you know, I challenge you to do a little bit of research. Let's look at how much the pork industry is worth. Worldwide pork market was valued at about $250 billion in 2022 and is expected to grow to up to 418 billion. It's almost half $1 trillion. Okay, there's a reason they want us to eat pork, right? Tastes good, makes people a lot of money. Now in contrast to that, let's look at how many people die from heart disease. 695,000 people in the United States died from heart disease in 2021. The cost of this is about $240 billion each year. That was from 2018 to 2019. As you can imagine, as population grows, as industry grows, these numbers are also going to rise. So going back to all the biblical stuff, uh, why would a law be changed that is going to end up hurting people in the long run? I don't have the answer to that question. But this is another great story. Um, how is it going to help me in business in the future? It's going to help me uh, by stop pouring from a cup that is nearly empty. We see the homeless people on the side of the road. Every once in a while, we like to stop by, give them a meal, give them a $5 bill, $10 bill. Even though we're struggling ourselves, even though and I say we as in us, people in society in general, most of us are, I think 75% of the population can't even afford an emergency uh, breakdown of their car. I know we can't. So I'm not trying to go off on any tangent. I'm not trying to bash anybody who eats uh, pork or beef or anything like that. Um, but, you know, if anything, I just want to make some people think about how they pet their dogs and love their dogs and their cats and stuff like that. And just know that some animals are capable of love and compassion, just like those cats and just like those dogs. Um, and also to mention, my family is completely healthy. Every doctor visit they go to, they're completely healthy. My wife is healthy. I'm healthy. The argument that we have to have meat to survive is bollocks. Um, if people eat meat, that's fine. We're Americans. We have the right to eat what we want, to believe what we believe. Uh, I myself fought for those rights in the army. Um, but as we get older and as we learn more information, we can discertain stuff for ourselves and we can make choices for ourselves. Like my grandpa died of, he had diabetes, heart disease, uh, high blood pressure, and he just so happened to work in a pork factory for 27 years. Coincidence? I don't know, maybe. But when it comes to animals and people who make money on slaughtering animals, you know, it's just blood money. You know what I mean? I understand. Again, people need to eat. So if your only source of food is going out and hunting and eating, I mean, is that really true? I don't know. You can afford the guns, you can afford the bullets, surely you can afford some other things. But and trust me, after when I turned 28, 29 is when I stopped eating flesh. And I call it flesh because that's what it is. It's veins, tissue, blood, other things like that. Um, I didn't want this to turn into any kind of anti-meat eating tangent or anything like that. But if we just look at society and look at how many people, how many children are obese in society, how many people have diabetes in society, how many people are dying of heart disease is actually the number one killer of men. Um, heart attacks, heart disease. cardiovascular disease, things like that. And if we don't, if you don't believe that what we put into our bodies is a direct, it has a direct influence on our health, then that's fine. We can believe what we want to believe, right? That's the beautiful thing about living in this country. Um, but I just want to end with, yeah, I mean, a great story about a guy who used his wealth to help make change. And you know, there's a quote that I like to use that I made up myself. It's easier to make change when you have dollars. It's really hard for someone with no money and nothing to give to go out there and make change. And as you can see in this video, he made a lot of change by making a lot of money. So I think I'm just gonna end it there, and hopefully get some interesting comments. And I did take debate a couple semesters ago, so I'm always open to a civil conversation about this kind of stuff. One of my best friends is a health expert, um, and isn't it funny how however long ago that the Old Testament was written, when they said to don't eat this, to don't eat that, um, it can be proven true today with science how it's bad for us, bad for our bodies. Um, Science has come a long way. So there's some other points I wanted to make, but I get lost, with my words. I can't remember some of the stuff I wanted to talk about. But people call us omnivores. As humans are omnivores. Well, or carnivores. Some people say I'm a carnivore. I'm a carnivore. No, not really. I mean, when's the last time you saw a wolf cook its meat before it ate it? When's the last time you saw a lion barbecue a zebra? You don't see that because some animals are true carnivores, and there's a reason why we have to cook certain types of meat before we eat it, and that's because we have to kill the stuff that's inside the meat so it doesn't kill us. Um, so just some food for thought. Again, this wasn't intended to be any kind of bashing of anybody who eats meat. I used to eat tons of meat. Trust me, I know it tastes good. Some people tell me they can't live without bacon, and tomorrow isn't promised and all this other stuff. But I'm 34 years old and I've had a lot of yesterdays, and I hope I have a lot of tomorrows as well. And millions of other people like me and my wife and my family are trying to find alternative ways to eat without causing harm to animals. So that's the main reason why I wanted to talk about that, is because it is Chick-fil-A. They do make their millions off of, you know, killing one of the dirtiest animals that there is on the planet, a chicken. Um, and if you've seen some of the farms they live in and all this stuff, but that's a whole nother topic, whole nother conversation. The questions was reflect on the video, add my insight. That's some of my insight there, and how this can help you in the future. I just not only I need to make more money. I need to find side hustles. I need to um, make more money so I can make more change. Um, you can't pour from an empty cup. So, I hope you guys have a great day.